Hey, good evening. I'm Sean Coursey. I'm an assistant chief with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. So this afternoon around 4:45 p.m., JSO received a call, a 911 call in reference to a suicidal person in the 2000 at a residence in the 2000 block of West Edgewood Avenue. The caller stated that this subject was armed with a firearm and wanted to basically get into a shootout with a law enforcement officer in order to kill himself. Officers were dispatched. They arrived at the scene about 3 minutes later. As they were exiting their vehicle, that subject came out of the residence and fired at least 5 rounds at those officers, striking one of their cars. They took cover, and that individual ran back into the house. During the phone call, the 911 call, that person also said that there were 2 other individuals in that residence. So the officers that responded, they weren't sure if they had a hostage situation or what that was. So as they took cover, they called for backup. Backup arrived on scene. One of the backup units was a drone officer. He was able to deploy his drone. When the drone was up, he could see the subject standing just inside the front door with what appeared to be a handgun in his hands. The subject would retreat back into the house and then come back to the front door. On 2 separate occasions, he stepped to the threshold of that door, and on each occasion, one officer fired 1 shot at that subject. It turns out that subject was not struck by either of those shots. Eventually, after those gunshots, the 2 other individuals that were inside that residence were able to escape out of the front door. The officers on scene were able to take them into safety. The officers continued to try to communicate with that individual that was inside the house. They were talking to him on 2 separate occasions on the telephone. They were also communicating with him via the loudspeaker. After a short time period, that individual ended up coming outside of the residence. He was unarmed. They took him into custody, and he is downtown being interviewed. The Sheriff's Office Cold Case Unit responded to investigate the shooting aspect, the JSO officer shooting at that individual. The Violent Crime Unit responded to investigate that individual shooting at the police and possible the hostage situation. So that's where we stand right now. It's still an ongoing investigation. I'll answer any questions.
Can you speak at all to the sense of relief knowing that nobody was hurt during any of this? I mean, especially when you had such a volatile situation.
Yeah, it was lucky. Obviously, we're always relieved when no one's hurt, especially in something like this. The officers were lucky that they weren't struck. We're always proud of our officers. They come out here every day knowing that a situation like this could arise, and they still come out and they do their job. So.
And at that time when the suspect went back into the house and came back like 2 separate times, did that person fire at officers again, or did the officers fire at the suspect when they came to the door each time?
No, so we believe the first time that they arrived is when he fired at them, and then when he came to the door still holding the weapon, they fired at him.
And you said that was 2 different times when he came to the door?
Correct. Two separate incidents.
Were there 2 different officers that fired the
Yes.
weapon?
Yes, each officer fired 1 shot.
And just to be clear, you said it was 2 individuals inside of the house along with the suspect.
That's correct, yes.
Any charges at this point?
Yes, he's facing charges.
And are you guys going to do any type of mental evaluation of the suspect? I know you said he was potential, he or she was potentially going to commit suicide or thinking about committing suicide.
Well, we'll arrest him, and that'll be looked at, I'm sure, down the road, especially for court proceedings.
Okay. Do we have an age range for this person?
Yeah, so I'll give you his name. His name is John Irvin. That's Ervin. He's a 34-year-old black male. He does have a local criminal history.
Can you spell the last name one more time?
Ervin. Good?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Was that a 5-star Google review? How's that? Just asking for a friend.
I'm always happy anytime we get to ask any question.
Yeah, we're all set.
I'm notorious for my